Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the weekly reset, Taliesin and Evitel's wondrous wisdom show, in a week where we are still reeling so full of pure industrial grade hopium from the recent spate of incredibly promising Dragonflight interviews. We've basically just become hopium zeppelins, floating around the WoW sphere, happily telling anyone who will listen that Dragonflight is essentially doing away with borrowed power. It's focusing on core progression systems that outlast the expansion. Progress will be much more account-wide. There are Tauren rogues. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Taliesin, isn't this much hopium zeppelining a bit dangerous? To which I say, shut up, dweeb. Hopium zeppelins are perfectly safe and nothing could possibly go wrong. Dragonflight is definitely going to be a banger expansion. Banger, an inappropriate word to use in hindsight. It's going to be good, okay? The interviews told me so. And we are going to do a super quick recap of some of the most important bits of Dragonflight info, even if this episode really is going to focus especially on the big 925 news we got this week, including hard details on the new loot vendors for the 3 now all totally relevant Shadowlands raids, and the currency that you will need to purchase said loot from them, as well as some story hints and spoilers, and a really interesting, genuine mystery developing on the PTR in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. All in all, it's a pretty jam-packed episode, but first, the reason I know you're all really here, the continuing epic battle to down the jailer and claim the world first heroic for guilds with a name a bit like Immortalis, the true race to world first which Echo wish they could be a part of, and which they keep asking us if they can be a part of, but which they can't be a part of because Echo isn't a name even slightly like Immortalis, no matter what they say, so they just don't qualify. I'm sorry, rules is rules. It's a race that we haven't updated you much on recently, what with all the new expansion hype going on, which is a shame because this has been one of the closest and most exciting races in RTWFFGWANABLI history, with there being a point last week where 4 guilds with names a bit like Immortalis were all progressing the final jailer fight, including of course the People's Champions, underdog, cheeky but lovable, sweet smelling, would never sell NFTs, Immortalis Argent Dawn EU. The race was on a knife edge for a while there, but I am pleased to announce that we now have a winner, and it is Norska Immortalis, who were always ahead in this particular fight, honestly, and sealed the victory a couple of days ago, which means that Presidio Immortalis, Esther Mortalis, and ourselves are, at the time of writing, currently scrapping for the remaining podium places. But hey-ho, there's always next raid, which I guess will be in Dragonflight, whenever that may be. And I did promise a roundup of all the exciting Dragonflight stuff, didn't I? And I think that's fair, so let's do it. New reasons to be excited about Dragonflight. There's been tons of interviews given by devs since the Dragonflight announcement, as well you know, because we've gathered and collated them all in the last reset. But since that episode, there were 3 new, really big ones in the space of just a couple of days that really went further than any others to essentially confirm a lot of what the player base really wanted to hear and inflate those very safe and not at all in need of regulation hopium zeppelins full to bursting. Except they won't burst, obviously, they're very sturdy. The hopium zeppelins are safe, okay? Stop worrying about the hopium zeppelins. These were Asmongold's stream interview with Ian Hazakostas, Mr. GM's interview with Brian Helinka, and the Twitter Spaces roundtable with Ian Hazakostas and Steve Danusa, hosted by, it doesn't say that in my notes, but it's not important anyway. And like I say, this is a whistle-stop recap. It's not really what the episode is about, so I'm just going to smush all the best info up here into one glorious whole, a deep info smush hole. The best and most important single statement, in my opinion, was Ian confirming that Dragonflight would be seeing essentially an abandoning of the expansion-long borrowed power systems that have become the de facto model for recent WoW expansions, and focus instead on the core progression of the new talent trees and profession revamps. He said that there is a desire in the team to make leveling and gearing the main focus of all, without having to repeat narrative quests and other in-game grinds to keep them up to date, giving the solid example of the new dragon riding system where, for example, speed upgrades for your dragon unlocked on your main would be available instantly and automatically to your alts, and how new reputation rewards and unlocks would also largely be account-wide, save for specific gear rewards. promise. A promise that genuinely would seem to mark a real long-term change in game design philosophy for Dragonflight, following further down the road started in 9.15, 9.2, and soon 9.25. It's almost hard to understate what a big and important change these things will turn out to be when they definitely turn out to be the case. And in fact, we are going to need some more Zeppelins to contain this hopium safely, because as everyone knows, Zeppelins are the safest place to house hopium. After that, honestly, the rest is just details, but good details, like the news that dragon riding will not, as feared, be coming at the expense of normal flying, which will be enabled in Dragonflight as usual. It very much is a system, as we speculated, that will get you up in the air earlier than usual. And Ian has confirmed that the seemingly very complete state of dragon riding that we saw in the announcement trailers, with all the gliding and diving and barrel rolling and basically looking like a more dynamic flying, would be achieved very quickly in the life of the game. So like, you know, patch 1. More good news. No news yet as to how you'll upgrade your dragon, but let's be honest, a currency does feel likely, doesn't it? Like maybe, I don't know, aviation points or AP for sure. I'm just spitballing here. Brian Helinka said that the gladiator mounts in Dragonflight would be specifically an appearance for your dragon, which is a cool idea too. And more good news, rogue, mage, and priest will be classes available to every race, which means 8 new class race combinations, and far more importantly, the invisible name that I reserved and have been sitting on for the last, and I shit you not, 10 years in anticipation of Tauren rogues will finally see some action, or not be seen having some action because he's an invisible. Or maybe I'll use it on a Tauren mage instead. Maybe I'll create an orc priest called Greenskin Apostle. The world is my oyster. Ian wants to bring back Master Looter, which is good, right? I think most people want to bring back Master Looter. The difference between us and Ian is that he's the one that can say, we are bringing back Master Looter, which is not what he said. So I would have preferred him to say that, honestly, but it's good that they're thinking about it and working on a way of incorporating it back. There was also an expressed desire to hide more story and raid stuff from the PTR, which, like the Master Loot thing, is not the same as saying that they're going to do that, but it's still nice that we're all starting to get on the same page with that. Creation Catalyst will survive in Dragonflight, in principle, probably through crafting in professions, which is super interesting. The endgame is going to take Zereth Mortis as its starting point, which is excellent, because Zereth Mortis is excellent, and currently there are no plans for a mission table in Dragonflight, and it's just all really good news and is all being rightfully praised, and the Zeppelins are soaring, so enjoy it until the alpha arrives and we can start judging things on more concrete terms, I say. But before that happens, of course, we have patch 9.2.5 and season 4 to look forward to. Another thing that we've been getting lots of new information on recently, with multiple new blue posts this week, including one particular subject that we are all very interested in, the gear vendors from Castle Nathria, Sanctum of Domination, and Sepulcher. All 3 of which, don't forget, will be equal and relevant and dishing out a new higher tier of gear in the next patch. I say relevant, one of those raids is Sanctum of Domination, so they're all relevant in the same way that all of the Hemsworth brothers are relevant. Some raids are more equal than others and all that. We know that all 3 raids are going to be on a cycle, so that only one at a time will be fated and awarding that higher tier of loot, which is good because players don't feel like they have to clear 3 separate raids every week to be playing right, but bad because, I don't know, maybe it would be fun to have the option of clearing 3 raids per week if that's what you really want to do, just this one patch, just for fun. And bad because it means that 1 week in 3, the only raid to do will be Sanctum of Domination, but good because 1 week in 3 will be Sanctum of Domination, so your whole raid team can have a little break and go outside, enjoy the sunshine, kiss a girl. That fated rotation will include LFR and the world bosses associated with the relevant patch, which will also have their gear buffed too. Oh, and domination shards and armor will not be a thing. They stopped trying to make them a thing, and good. But what we're all really interested in is those vendors. Currently, there are 3 in Oribos selling weapons and trinkets from those 3 raids. No armor, because as the week's big blue post says, rarely do players feel they can't play because they're missing boots or bracers. Focusing in on these higher tier items keeps these vendors special, and the system focused on that bad luck protection rather than being an alternative or replacement gearing method, which it's not. A position which I think I agree with overall, but then who can really know, right? Since we've never had anything like Season 4 in WoW before. Maybe we'll come out the other side wishing that it had just been a straight up shop, but until then, yeah, I'm in favor of it. It has been pointed out that the creation catalyst will still be functioning, and the armor from any of the 3 raids can be altered into Season 4 tier pieces, and all accumulated charges of the catalyst will carry over from Season 3 to 4, which means, frankly, most of us are going to be able to creation catalyst just about every gear piece that drops for us if we really want to. I think that's very good too, by the way. When you come to buy those weapons and trinkets from the vendor, you'll be spending the Puzzling Cartel Dinar, which is a quest item. Every piece of gear on the vendor costs 1 dinar, and 3 and only 3 dinars will be rewarded per character for the whole of Season 4. And it's a killing raid bosses quest. The quest rewards 1 dinar for the killing of 30, then 20, then 10 unique fated raid bosses, which means that if you clear every fated raid every week, then the first dinar will be received after 3 weeks, the first complete cycle of raids. The second will be awarded 2 weeks later on week 5, and the last dinar the week after that on week 6. So you will have all 3 by the time every raid has gone through the cycle twice. And these kills can be done on any difficulty level as well. So as long as you kill every boss, it doesn't matter if you do them on Mythic or LFR or a combination. The items you buy from the vendor are normal item level 278, and the plan is that you'll be able to upgrade them to heroic or mythic level with shards that you collect from killing bosses at those difficulties. And if, as the blue suggests, they are a guaranteed drop and you need 20 per upgrade, then if you were clearing the raid at Mythic every week, you're going to have enough shards to upgrade items as you buy them from the vendor with room to spare. Except those shards don't have to be exclusively used with the vendor gear. Any Season 4 fated item is upgradable using those shards. And also, it's not done in steps like you have to make them heroic and then you have to make them mythic. Shards from mythic will straight up just convert those normal or LFR item pieces into mythic quality. Overall, yeah, I'm pretty excited by it. I know there will be some players who are just like screaming at their monitors saying, just give us a shop and a currency like Valor points and let us buy all of our gear from the deterministic vendor. And I do understand that, but I don't know, boss drops and hoping for your drop is kind of a fundamental and, in my opinion, fun part of WoW. I'd certainly rather have systems to mitigate the times when I don't get the drop rather than making all my gearing being just essentially picking from a catalogue. The catalyst charges carrying over are a delightful surprise, frankly, and there does seem to be genuine reason for players to be going into these fated instances every week, and even gently pushing at higher difficulties than they might otherwise for upgrade shards. I think there is enough in this vendor system to make it worthwhile and engaging. For a while at least, and obviously everyone agrees with me. Sounds horrible. Another bad change, Blizz slowly ruining the game. Waste of time, waste of time, waste of time! But, you know, like I say, this is new territory for all of us, and like the blue says, if there is a time to experiment, then the wildcard Season 4 is probably the place to do it. Especially as another thing this blue post reveals is the season's shorter runtime. Definitely the kind of statement which, while not meaningless, definitely shouldn't be overanalyzed by some scruffy YouTuber who tends to overanalyze things too much. But you know what? It's my birthday, so heck, let's overanalyze it. Shadowlands Season 1 lasted 28 weeks, while Season 2 lasted 32 weeks. Obviously, we currently don't know how long the current Season 3 is going to last, but if we place it bang in the middle of the previous 2 and call it 30 weeks, then it will end on, 27th of September 2022, which I think is fair to say is maybe a little bit longer than many of us would have been hoping this was all going to start kicking off. Now, of course, patch 9.25 will hit a little before Season 4 starts, but the difference is negligible for these broad estimates. So if Season 4 was to be normal-ish length, then we are looking at it finishing, and when it finishes is important because it's an indicator of when Dragonflight might hit, on The 25th of April, 2023. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to pause this video at this point so you can go out and rinse the little bit of sick that you just did in your mouth. But of course, Season 4 is going to be shorter. So just how much shorter? Well, it's fair to assume that shorter means shorter than anything in Shadowlands so far, which at most would be 27 weeks, which would be the 11th of April 2023 for the real end of the expansion. And just because there are still people hoping for a 2022 Dragonflight release, myself included, by these numbers, Season 4 would have to last just 12 weeks, or each of the fated raids being available 4 times for it to be done in time for even a 2020 pre-patch for Dragonflight. Which, actually, now you put it in terms of how many times the raids will be up, suddenly doesn't sound completely unfeasible, especially when the Untitled Dragonflight prequel book, which has just appeared on Amazon, by the way, has a November the 22nd release date, which, okay, yeah, why not? Evitel, bring the hopium canister! I've got another Zeppelin to launch. And of course, there are other variables too, like it's quite likely the current Season 3 could be shorter than 30 weeks, right? Most BFA seasons were between 20 and 27. But then looking at how few guilds have completed Mythic Jailer right now makes you think, if anything, this season is designed to be even longer than usual. And look, this is why you shouldn't wildly speculate about this stuff, because we have no idea and it just makes you feel bad. Why did you make me do it, internet? Why did you make me do the speculation and the feeling bad? Yeah, I don't think Dragonflight's coming in 2022, put it that way. Or is it? No. Likewise, everyone is on the edge of their seat waiting for a patch 925 release date, and then release, and then Dragonflight alpha. But by these wild speculations that you made me do, it's really not realistic to expect that release date to be before September or August at the absolute crazy optimistic earliest. And to be clear, I have never wanted to eat shit as much in my entire life than I do on this. If Blizzard announced a June or July 925 date the hour after this video goes live, and it wouldn't be the first time, then I will happily be known as Stupid Tally the Stupid Boy and eat nothing but shit pie for the rest of my life. Seriously, I will take that one for the team. Release dates and seasons aside, one other thing about the 925 PTR is the stable mystery in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. And I'm going to put a Bluebot spoiler bot up for this because both capitals have had new stable areas added, featuring completely new and unique assets, and now this week have had a quest line added to them as well. Dwarf Lady Anessa and Troll Zajay both send you off gathering supplies and rallying workers to continue construction on the site. Just very basic, go and click on people's stuff, but which ends with workers working on something around the new stables, like hammering pegs into the ground and stuff. The dwarves have even put up these nice hanging lights, with the OG quest giver then defaulting to "there's nothing interesting to see here yet" type lines. And it's like, okay, what is that stable for? And most importantly, what is coming next that they are currently building? And of course, it is very tempting to let your imagination go wild at this point, isn't it? Could it be a new player or guild housing area? Definitely not. Could it be where your new dragons will reside when you're in town? Maybe, but they don't look very dragon appropriate, to be honest. Anessa refers to the Sea Braids, who are clearly an adventuring or pirate band, the Sea Braid Stallion being the Kultira style mount that came in the BFA pre-order. The Horde version sees Zajay referring to shipments from Shiri and Zen Kala, Zen being a common affix for troll druids, and Anessa refers to working for Tawny, which is a type of owl, which is something that druids can turn into. I'm probably reading far too much into that, admittedly. Either way, something is going on here. Exciting shipments of goods are coming into both Stormwind and Orgrimmar from somewhere, to the extent that a whole new area is being constructed for each. It is a complete mystery at the moment, and I love a PTR mystery. So here's another in the Eyes of the Wolf, a Redbot spoiler for this, because currently this is not on the PTR but hidden away in the data. A quest given to Alliance players, I'm guessing from Gen Greymane because the Eyes of the Wolf and all that sends players to Tirisfal Glades to spy on the gathering Forsaken and Calia Menethil. It seems fair to assume that Horde players will have an equivalent quest that sees them observing or taking part in these events too, and the obvious question question is, what are these events? Well, obviously, a lot of people think that this might be the final step to Calia becoming the Forsaken leader, which is a shit show, obviously. Why can't they just bury this fishy and make a more interesting Forsaken leadership akin to the Desolate Council? Holy Lady watch over you, undead dweebs. We will never serve! But I'm still super cynical that will ever happen. Calia, who has, after all, said she has no interest in leading anyone, can still be a prominent figure to the Forsaken without being their leader. Don't forget that there is still those encrypted maps of Lordaeron in the files. If the Forsaken were to make a move back into the Undercity, or even the Overcity of Lordaeron itself, it would be kind of nice to have Calia be a part of them doing that, since it's like her old house. There's also all those raised Night Elf Rangers still hanging out in Brill, the Forsaken starting zone, with Derek Proudmoore. Maybe this quest is about introducing them back into the fold. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to be a Calia coronation, if I'm honest. As always, you can find lots more juicy details on this and everything we've talked about today in various Wowhead articles that we have handpicked and will be linking in the description below for your convenience and delectation, including some stuff about Dragonflight professions, which is very interesting and kind of complicated sounding, which honestly I'd like to see some functioning UIs for before we talk about it in detail on this show. But we have talked about it lots on stream, so maybe join us there during the week, or on our stream highlights channel, Taliesin and Evitel TV. Or don't, I know you're very busy, but thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And seriously guys, thank you, because without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Shooty Gatwa. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel and Nyrin and Penny too. Until next time, cheerio.